la manera de ser internacional es ser extremadamente nacional.
So he said that the way of being international is to be extremely national, in character, right? In other words, you can't, you could be as international as you want, but you can never get away from your roots, right? Kind of where you're from, right? I mean, it's a learned cultural behavior. It's just sort of there, right?
Yeah. Y entonces, pues bueno, pese a que el piano es un instrumento que tiene muchísima literatura, siempre hay que estar estudiando, viendo cosas. Todavía son inexplicables las cosas o sea, lo que hacía Bach, lo que hacía Mozart, lo que hacen también muchos jazzistas de aquí de Estados Unidos y otras partes del mundo, o sea, han marcado el curso de la música, que incluso lo han desgiversado, o sea, hay mucha literatura sobre todo para ese instrumento, pero yo te voy a hablar de mi gusto personal. Pese a todo eso, me gustan los antiguos, aquella gente de esto que estamos hablando.
Oh, okay. So he says that the piano is just rich with literature from all countries and all styles. But what he prefers the most is the older typical styles. La cosa típica.
Yeah.
Okay, the older typical styles, rather than some of the more modern contemporary styles of piano playing in his music. Let me ask him this question. Lili Martínez, Frank Fernández, Pepecito Palma, Peruchín.
Sí.
I mean, the list goes on of Cuban pianists. Talk to me about who you think you're like.
De los nombres que él mencionó, ¿quién tú crees? All the old school Cuban giants of piano playing. ¿Quién tú crees que te parece más? ¿Cuáles han sido tus influencias más grandes de esa lista o fuera de esa lista?
Bueno, la duro. Hay que decir, yo te voy a marcar de la gente dentro de esos que han marcado pauta en la música. Lili Martínez, además de ser un afamado pianista, cuando en sus solos te dabas cuenta que parecía que estaba tocando el 2 de Rachmaninoff, o sea, concertista cómo le sonaba el piano, pero además de eso, además de ser un gran pianista, era un muy buen compositor también. Tiene muchos sones famosísimos que le han dado la vuelta al mundo. No obstante eso, él tiene también en su haber un gran legado que dejó, que fue el primero que introdujo el piano en el conjunto. Todo lo que se llama hoy la salsa, que son con grandes orquestas, que hay pianistas y tal, todo eso se le debe a Lili Martínez, que fue el primero. Porque Arsenio, en sus principios, era un conjunto, pero era un conjunto con solamente 3.
Exactamente.
El primero que introdujo el piano en un conjunto, y gracias a él se puede decir que toda esta sonoridad que tenemos hoy se la debemos un poco pues al invento de este señor.
Okay, so Lili Martinez happens to be his favorite because he was a fabulous pianist to begin with. I mean, a legitimate pianist. But he was also a tremendous composer. But more importantly, he was an innovator within the Cuban son. In little history here. Right around 1938, or maybe a little prior to that, by around 1938, there was a blind bass player by the name of Arsenio Rodriguez, tremendously important individual and musician for many, many, many different reasons. Important in Cuba and also important to the United States and New York City. And one of the things that Arsenio Rodriguez did was that he took the son groups, which were small sectet and septets. It was basically a tres, a trumpet, bongos, some singers, right? And he expanded that sound by adding a string bass, by adding the conga drums, which was sort of like a taboo in that time to have that instrument be part of popular music because it was an African instrument. He expanded the sound with the trumpets. But his partner, Lili Martinez, the pianist, was the first to actually introduce the piano into that folk music form that became a popular style. and I should say that the framework for everything that we call popular Cuban music, salsa, you name it, right? All that stuff that you hear from all these fabulous pianists throughout the years, right, is sort of modeled after what Lili Martinez did by including the piano into the son, or into the conjunto, to be more correct. Right? And the conjunto would play son music. So he was an innovator. And the interesting thing about it, and I should say this, right? The instrument his father plays is the same instrument that Arsenio played, right? And that instrument is tuned rather funny. So it's not played like a guitar. It's not picked like a guitar because the strings, don't follow a sequence of high to low pitches, right? They're tuned completely different, right? So it's a very interesting technique. But the pattern that it plays is an arpeggiated pattern, right? That goes along with the rhythms of the conga drum, goes along with the syncopated rhythms or the anticipated rhythms of the bass, all that stuff. Well, what Lili Martinez did was he took those patterns and applied them to the piano. And of course, on an instrument like the tres, you only hear one note at a time.